What would you do if you discovered that the janitor's son sitting quietly in school corners possessed mathematical abilities that could expose fraud and save an entire educational institution? 10-year-old Diego Martinez spent every evening at Riverside Elementary while his father Roberto cleaned classrooms, absorbing budget discussions and financial reports that adults assumed he couldn't understand. When the school faced closure due to mysterious financial losses, Diego's extraordinary number sense would reveal that sometimes the most important accountants are the ones nobody notices. Before we get to this wonderful story, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the story. Diego Martinez had been doing his homework in empty classrooms since he was 6 years old, when his father Roberto first started working the evening janitorial shift at Riverside Elementary. With no money for after-school care and his mother Elena working late shifts at a local diner to help support the family, Diego had no choice but to accompany his father to work each day after regular school hours ended. "Mijo, just stay quiet and work on your assignments while I clean," Roberto would tell his son, setting up a small workspace in whatever classroom they were maintaining that evening. "Don't touch anything that doesn't belong to you, and remember that we're guests in this school." What had started as necessity had evolved into something extraordinary. While other 10-year-olds went home to video games and television, Diego spent his afternoons surrounded by advanced textbooks, complex mathematical problems written on whiteboards, and most importantly, the detailed financial discussions that took place in the school's administrative offices. Diego's mathematical abilities had manifested early and dramatically. By age 4, he was solving arithmetic problems that challenged middle school students. By 6, he was working through algebra concepts while his classmates struggled with basic addition. By 8, he had taught himself geometry and trigonometry using discarded textbooks from the school's surplus room. Now, at 10, he was quietly mastering calculus concepts that wouldn't normally be encountered until college. But Diego's true gift wasn't just advanced mathematical computation. It was his ability to see patterns and relationships in numbers that others missed. When he overheard budget meetings in the principal's conference room, Diego's mind automatically analyzed the financial data being discussed, identifying inconsistencies and anomalies that escaped the notice of trained administrators. "Papa," Diego had asked his father one evening 6 months earlier, "why does Mrs. Walsh always sound worried when she talks about the school's money?" Roberto paused in his floor mopping to consider his son's question. "The school has been having financial problems, mijo. They might have to close Riverside if they can't fix their budget." Diego's young face had grown serious with concern. Riverside Elementary wasn't just the school he attended. It was the place where his family had found stability and purpose. The thought of losing it motivated him to pay even closer attention to the administrative discussions he overheard during his father's work hours. Principal Margaret Walsh embodied the challenges facing public education in Phoenix. At 52, she had dedicated her career to serving underprivileged communities, watching as budget cuts and administrative inefficiencies slowly strangled the resources needed to educate children effectively. Riverside Elementary served primarily Latino and low-income families, many of whom worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, like the Martinez family. The school's financial crisis had been building for 3 years, with mysterious budget shortfalls that grew larger each semester, despite unchanged enrollment and funding levels. The district's financial auditors had conducted 2 reviews without identifying the source of the missing funds, and the school board was now discussing closure as the only viable option. "We're losing approximately $20,000 per quarter with no explanation," Principal Walsh had explained to the school board during one of their emergency meetings. "Our food service budget shows the highest discrepancies, but we can't identify where the money is going." Diego, sitting quietly in the corner while his father cleaned the conference room, absorbed every detail of these discussions. His mathematical mind automatically processed the numbers being presented, and something about the food service discrepancies troubled him in ways he couldn't initially articulate. After several weeks of listening to these budget discussions, Diego made a request that surprised his father. "Papa, can I see the school's lunch receipts and food delivery records?" Roberto looked at his son with confusion. "Why would you want to see those papers, mijo?" Because the numbers don't match, Diego replied with the matter-of-fact precision that had always characterized his approach to mathematical problems. Mrs. Walsh says they're losing money in food service, but I want to see the actual data. Roberto hesitated, knowing that accessing administrative records would be inappropriate for a janitor and his son. But Diego's earnest determination and obvious intellectual abilities had earned Roberto's complete trust over the years. If his son saw patterns that adults were missing, perhaps those insights could help save the school they both cared about. The next evening, Roberto quietly made copies of the food service records that Principal Walsh had left on her desk, bringing them home for Diego to examine. What his son discovered over the following weeks would expose one of the most sophisticated embezzlement schemes in the Phoenix School District's history. "Papa, look at this," Diego said one evening, spreading the financial documents across their small kitchen table at home. His mother, Elena, just home from her evening shift, joined them to see what had captured her son's intense attention. Diego had created a complex chart showing food service expenditures, delivery schedules, and payment records over the past 3 years. Using colored pencils, he had highlighted patterns that revealed systematic financial manipulation. "See these delivery invoices?" Diego explained, pointing to specific entries on his chart. "Every Friday, the school pays for food deliveries that are 30% larger than what actually gets delivered. But the delivery driver, Mr. Peterson, always gets the full payment." Elena and Roberto exchanged glances, recognizing the implications of what their son was suggesting. "Diego, are you saying someone is stealing from the school?" Elena asked carefully. "I'm saying the numbers prove it," Diego replied with scientific precision. "Mr. Peterson has been billing for extra food that never arrives, and someone in the school office has been approving payments without checking the actual deliveries." Diego's analysis revealed that James Peterson, the food service delivery coordinator, had been collaborating with Sandra Brooks, the school's food service administrator, to inflate invoices and pocket the difference. The scheme had netted them approximately $240,000 over 3 years, money that should have been feeding students and supporting educational programs. "But mijo," Roberto said carefully, "we're just a janitor family. Who's going to believe us if we report something like this?" "The numbers don't lie," Diego replied simply, "and I can prove everything I'm saying." The next morning, Diego made a decision that would require more courage than any 10-year-old should need to summon. During his morning recess, he approached Principal Walsh's office and asked to speak with her privately. "Diego, shouldn't you be on the playground with the other children?" Principal Walsh asked, surprised to see the quiet janitor's son in her office during school hours. "Mrs. Walsh, I think I know why the school is losing money," Diego said, his small hands clutching a folder containing his financial analysis. "Someone's been stealing from the food service budget for 3 years. Principal Walsh's expression shifted from mild curiosity to concern. She was accustomed to children coming to her office with playground disputes or academic problems, not sophisticated allegations of financial fraud. "Diego, that's a very serious accusation," she said gently. "What makes you think someone is stealing money?" Diego opened his folder and spread his charts across Principal Walsh's desk. For the next 20 minutes, he explained his analysis with the precision of a forensic accountant, showing her invoice discrepancies, payment patterns, and mathematical proofs that revealed the embezzlement scheme. Principal Walsh found herself staring at financial analysis that surpassed anything her district's professional auditors had produced. The 10-year-old boy sitting across from her desk had identified patterns and connections that had escaped the notice of trained financial investigators. "Diego," she said finally, "how did you learn to do this kind of analysis?" "I just like math," Diego replied modestly, "and I listen when you have budget meetings while Papa cleans the conference room. I started noticing that the numbers didn't make sense." Principal Walsh realized with growing amazement that while she and her staff had been struggling to understand their financial problems, the solution had been sitting quietly in their corners the entire time, overlooked because he was just the janitor's kid. "Diego, this is extraordinary work," she said, studying his mathematical proofs. "But I need to ask you something important. Are you absolutely certain about these calculations?" "Yes, ma'am," Diego replied without hesitation. "I can show you exactly how to verify everything. The pattern is consistent across all the records." Principal Walsh immediately contacted the district's fraud investigation unit and the Phoenix Police Department's Financial Crimes Division. When Detective Sarah Johnson arrived to review Diego's evidence, she found herself facing one of the most comprehensive financial fraud analyses she'd encountered in 15 years of investigating white-collar crime. "This is remarkable," Detective Johnson said, studying Diego's charts and calculations. "You've identified not just the embezzlement itself, but the specific methodology and the exact amount stolen. How long did this analysis take you?" "About 6 weeks," Diego replied matter-of-factly. "I worked on it after school while Papa was cleaning." The investigation that followed confirmed every aspect of Diego's analysis. James Peterson and Sandra Brooks were arrested within a week, and their scheme was exposed in precise detail. The stolen funds were recovered through asset seizure, providing Riverside Elementary with not just the missing money, but additional resources from fines and penalties. But the most significant outcome wasn't financial. It was the recognition that Diego Martinez possessed intellectual abilities that demanded proper nurturing and educational opportunities. "Dr. Martinez," Principal Walsh said, using the title that Diego's mathematical achievements had earned him among the faculty, "I want to discuss your educational future." The meeting that took place in Principal Walsh's office 2 weeks later included Diego, his parents, and representatives from Arizona State University's Gifted Education Program. Diego's mathematical analysis had attracted attention from educators across the Phoenix area who recognized that they were dealing with a genuinely exceptional mind. "Diego demonstrates mathematical reasoning abilities that typically aren't seen until graduate-level studies," explained Dr. Patricia Chen, ASU's Director of Mathematical Education. "His approach to problem-solving is intuitive and sophisticated in ways that suggest natural mathematical genius." Roberto and Elena listened with a mixture of pride and concern as the educators discussed advanced placement programs, university-level coursework, and educational opportunities that seemed far beyond their family's means. "We want Diego to succeed," Elena said carefully, "but we're working people. We can't afford expensive special programs." "Mrs. Martinez," Principal Walsh interrupted gently, "Diego's analysis saved our school and exposed a major crime. The district wants to provide full scholarship support for any educational program he needs." 6 months later, Diego Martinez was attending regular classes at Riverside Elementary in the morning and university-level mathematics courses at Arizona State in the afternoon. His unique educational schedule allowed him to remain connected to his neighborhood school while pursuing advanced studies that challenged his extraordinary abilities. But Diego's impact extended far beyond his personal academic achievements. His exposure of the embezzlement scheme had led to comprehensive financial audits across the Phoenix School District, resulting in the discovery of similar fraud in 3 other schools and the recovery of over $800,000 in stolen funds. "Diego changed how we think about financial oversight in public education," explained District Superintendent Robert Williams. "His analysis revealed vulnerabilities in our systems that we didn't know existed." More importantly, Diego's story had challenged assumptions about intelligence, capability, and worth that had long pervaded educational institutions. The quiet child who had been overlooked because of his father's occupation and his family's economic circumstances had proven that brilliance could emerge from any background. "I never imagined that the janitor's son would be the one to save our school," Principal Walsh admitted during a district meeting about Diego's case. "It's taught me to pay attention to all our students in ways I hadn't before." Diego's mathematical abilities continued to develop under proper academic guidance, but he remained grounded in the values his parents had instilled. Every afternoon, he still accompanied his father to school, though now he spent his time tutoring other students rather than just doing homework alone. "Mijo, you could probably go to any university in the country now," Roberto told his son as they worked together one evening. Roberto cleaning while Diego helped struggling classmates with their math assignments. "I like it here, Papa," Diego replied, looking up from where he was explaining algebraic concepts to a group of 5th graders. "This is where I learned that math can help people." Elena Martinez watched her son work with other children and marveled at how their lives had changed. The boy who had once been dismissed as just the janitor's kid was now recognized as one of Arizona's most promising young mathematicians. but he had retained the compassion and humility that made his intelligence truly valuable. Diego's gift isn't just his mathematical ability, Elena observed to Roberto as they watched their son patiently explain a complex problem to a struggling student. It's his understanding that intelligence should be used to help others. 2 years later, Diego Martinez was featured on the cover of Mathematical Education Quarterly as America's youngest financial crime solver. The article described how his analysis had not only exposed fraud, but had led to new mathematical models for detecting financial irregularities in institutional settings. But Diego's proudest achievement wasn't the national recognition or the university scholarships, or even the mathematical theorems that now bore his name. It was the knowledge that Riverside Elementary remained open, serving the community where he'd grown up, providing educational opportunities for other children whose potential might otherwise go unrecognized. The janitor's son, who had been invisible in school corners, had revealed that extraordinary intelligence could emerge from any circumstances, and that the most important mathematical equations are often the ones that solve real problems for real people. Principal Walsh kept Diego's original fraud analysis framed on her office wall, not as a trophy, but as a daily reminder that brilliance comes in unexpected packages, and that educators must remain alert to the potential that exists in every child, regardless of their background or circumstances. Roberto Martinez continued working as Riverside Elementary's head custodian, but now he was also recognized as the father of one of Arizona's most celebrated young mathematicians. The pride he felt wasn't just about his son's achievements. It was about Diego's character and his commitment to using his gifts in service of others. "We raised a good boy," Elena would say to Roberto as they watched Diego work with other students. "Smart, yes, but good first." Diego's mathematical genius had saved his school from closure and exposed corruption that might have continued for years. But his greater gift was demonstrating that intelligence, when combined with compassion and moral courage, could transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. The quiet boy who had absorbed mathematical concepts while his father cleaned classrooms had grown into a young man whose analytical abilities would reshape how educational institutions approach both financial oversight and the recognition of student potential. And every evening, as Diego continued his tradition of accompanying his father to work, he remembered the lesson that had guided his extraordinary journey, that the most important numbers are the ones that help people, and that true mathematical genius lies not in solving abstract problems, but in using numerical insights to make the world a better place. The janitor's math prodigy had proven that brilliance can emerge from any corner of any school, and that sometimes the most sophisticated analysis comes from the most unexpected sources, like a 10-year-old boy who learned to love mathematics because he understood that numbers could solve problems that really mattered. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.